From pandemics to air quality, poor air quality can pose hazards to people's health. According to the American Lung Association, it can cause asthma attacks, increase a person's risk of heart attack and stroke, and lead to premature death. But how can one know if the air they're breathing is clean air? In Uganda, AIRQO, founded in 2015 by researchers at the Makerere University, has created a local, low cost innovation using artificial intelligence to capture air quality across the country. And I'm speaking today with Professor Engineer Bainomugisha, its project lead, to learn how the organization is using this innovation to drive action that impacts both health and climate. In 2019, AIRCO was among the 20 organizations that received a grant from Google's AI Impact Challenge on its work tackling air pollution. And that's out of more than 2,600 applicants from all over the world. In a story, you were quoted as saying, "I'm a little obsessed with air." Why is that, Professor?
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. Yeah, it's true. I'm a little bit obsessed about the air. And the reason for this is that I for sure know, and everyone knows, that air pollution is a growing challenge affecting millions of lives on the African continent and elsewhere. And as a trained computer scientist, I constantly think about what can I do to address this air pollution challenge. So I feel I should be part of offering solutions to a challenge like air pollution. And that's the reason I like constantly thinking about how do I help deliver clean air to African cities through the knowledge and the partnerships that I have and I have access to. Thank you.
Well, air pollution is an issue that really spans both climate and health, and we're becoming increasingly aware of this. Can you give one example of, uh, a significant partnership you have?
Yeah, thank you. So one of the key things that we think about deeply as AIRCO is um, how do we form meaningful partnerships to be able to have concrete actions and steps going forward. So as AIRCO, being based in Uganda, for instance, one of the things that we have been looking out for is how do we work with the local authorities. Some of them are government agencies, for instance, those that are responsible for regulating the environment of which air pollution falls. So we've been working closely with the National Environment Authority to see how we can inform the agenda setting, bringing air pollution as a priority among some of the key actions they're looking at, but also trying to initiate actions on what we can do. And we've been working with the National Environmental Management Authority in Uganda, for instance, to inform the formulation of new national air quality standards, which to us is a very important step to having a government action on how we can deliver clean air to the urban areas within Uganda.
I'm curious, how you're able to kind of pitch that partnership with the National Environmental Authority. How are you able to convince them that this is an important issue?
Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, when we started doing this work, Uganda, there was not a lot of data. Well, there was no data on the magnitude and scale of air pollution. So, our first step was actually on gathering data and using this data to make government agencies and other entities realize that we have air pollution challenge. So in a way, our work has helped to set the agenda and make air pollution to be one of the priorities uh, in agencies like the National Environmental Management Authority, but also the city authorities. So having been able to achieve at least that to some level, that these different government agencies are starting to see air pollution as a key challenge, uh, we've then been able to now start taking the concrete actions and what can be done. But the first step really has been on how do we make air pollution to be seen as a priority. And the way to make that a priority is not by saying, we have air pollution without any facts or figures, but being able to do that groundwork on providing the data to actually show the state of air pollution, and more concretely also being able to say that, well, it's not necessarily that every part of the country or every sector or every place is polluted. There are actually places that we see they have good air quality, but also places that have poor air quality, which also helps to change the narrative. Because in the absence of data, you have a generalization that maybe we have a lot of air pollution across the city, but actually it's maybe not the case. So making these entities realize that there's something that they can be able to do, and they can also be able to see the scale of the air pollution challenge. Then we start now to think about what actions we can take to address this problem.
You really drove the point really about really having the data and showing the evidence to make the case to important stakeholders. I understand that AIRCO is planning to expand its work outside Uganda. um, do you have a timeline for that, and what role can partnerships play in that expansion?
Great, thank you. So through our partnerships, we are now looking at scaling up our network and our work beyond Uganda. As you mentioned, our work at AIRCO is beyond monitoring. We want to provide the data, set the agenda, and then initiate actions to tackle the air pollution challenge. In the next 3 years, we want to expand, we want to have presence in at least 10 new cities in 5 African cities, and we in 5 African countries. And we're looking at initially starting with some of the countries within East Africa, for instance, in Nairobi, Kenya. And one of the key aspects of our work is, of course, partnerships. For instance, in Nairobi, we have started a new partnership with the UN EP, where we are going to explore on how we can expand our work to Nairobi. So being able to provide the data, but also hope to start the discussions and inform some of the ongoing actions. There's sort of already ongoing actions within some of the cities, but consolidating the efforts in a way that we can have sustainable actions and impact on air pollution issues within these cities. Ultimately, we would want to expand our network from now about 120 sensors that we have on our network to about 300 sensors in the next 3 years. And we hope that with those steps that we are taking, we'll be able to move closer to our vision of clean air in all African cities.
It's certainly going to be a busy but very exciting next 3 years for you. Thank you very much, Professor Engineer Bainomugisha, Project Lead at AIRCO.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for having me.